First of all, I'd like to welcome everyone to the fourth installment of our Advisor Experience Month. My name is Josh O'Gara, and I'm the state president of the National Association of Insurance and Financial Advisors here in Massachusetts. We've got an incredible panel of speakers this morning, sharing their experiences in the industry. They've all had over 25 years of experience in the financial services business. So it's going to be a great opportunity to get some great takeaways and learn a little bit more about how they built their practice. Some things they did right, some things they did wrong, and hopefully we can all walk away with some great takeaways. So before we get started, I'd like to take care of a few housekeeping things. First of all, if you could all mute your lines while we are doing the discussion. If you have questions, please post in the chat. I see a few people already are utilizing the chat, so please continue to do so. We'll be monitoring that, and if questions come up along the way, we can certainly ask the panelists if you have anything that you'd like to ask about. So we are recording the session today, so if you want to go back and listen to it later on or share it with colleagues, please feel free to do so. We'll be sending that out after the event. I do want to thank our sponsor for the Advisor Experience Month, Fairway Independent Mortgage. If you're not familiar with Fairway is one of the nation's leading lenders for reverse mortgages, and they've got a great partnership with both NAIFA National and here in the state of Massachusetts. They're great supporters of ours, and we're actually going to be holding an event November 4th with their CEO, Harlan Nicola, who will be doing a presentation around reverse mortgages. We're going to be combining that with a presentation from Dr. Jerry Teplitz to talk a little bit more about his research on neuroplasticity and how having the ability to adjust to stressful situations and that sort of thing can help you build your practice and your professionalism as well. So that should be a great presentation. That's going to be in person on November 4th at the Verve Hotel. If you're interested in finding out more about that event, please log on to our website, naifama.org. A couple quick thank yous. Adam Marino was integral part of setting up this program today, as well as the 3 prior programs. Adam's our programs chair, and also our association services executive, Mark Mail, as well as Lori Kaufman on his team. We can't do these types of events without their help, so thank you to both of those individuals. All right, so to get started this morning, I do want to just do a quick intro for our panelists. First we have Jennifer Borslow. Jennifer is the founding principal of Borslow Insurance. She's a nationally recognized expert, author, speaker, and thought leader on employee benefits, insurance, and related business strategies. As CEO and strategic coach of the organization, Jennifer focuses her energy on helping the agency create a unique experience for her clients and doing it all with a personal touch. For 39 years, Jennifer has helped business owners, executives, and professionals develop a clear, forward-looking strategic vision for their organization that leverages employee benefits, risk management, and much more. She's the co-author of 5 books, Bend the Healthcare Trend, Inspired to Act, and Inspired to Act for Kids, with her business partner, Mark Gaionia, and If I Only Had Known with Melissa Marima and Michaela Scott. Bend the Healthcare Trend clarifies consumer-driven health and wellness plans and helps employers empower employees to control insurance costs. Inspired to Act is a collection of stories helping others embrace the power of kindness. If I Had Only Known, checklists and guidance before and after a loved one dies is a guidebook that offers step-by-step instructions on how your family can prepare for and avoid the most common missteps and challenges related to the death of a loved one. She's a graduate of Dickinson College and an active participant on several boards and involved in many community activities. Jen is a past president of NAIFA here in Massachusetts, and also president of the MDRT Foundation Association. So Jen, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
My pleasure, thank you.
And next we have Robert Matson. Robert Matson, Bob Matson, worked within the financial services industry since 1981. He has a brief tenure at John Hancock, and he became an associate of Bay State Financial Services in Boston in 1983. As an individual producer and brokerage manager, Bob worked with Bay State until starting his own financial services practice in Wellesley in 1988. Since 1996, he has served individuals and businesses in the areas of retirement, estate, and insurance planning from his office in Millis, Massachusetts. Bob is an independent financial services. Robert Matson, CLU CHFC, is an independent financial services firm powered by LPL Financial. Bob enjoys immense satisfaction from assisting with the pursuit of clients' financial goals and objectives. Bob received a BA from Muhlenberg College in Allentown, Pennsylvania. He earned the Chartered Life Underwriter and Chartered Financial Consultant degrees from the American College. Bob has served on the investment committee for NAFA at the national level. He's a past president here in Massachusetts and a past national committee person. He's a past president of the Boston Estate Planning Council and past president and member of the Society of Financial Service Professionals. He's a registered investment advisor, registered securities principal, and licensed insurance advisor in Massachusetts. In 2010, he was recognized by the National Association of Estate Planners and Councils with the designation of the Accredited Estate Planner. Bob is married with 4 children and is the proud grandfather of Michael, Abigail, Vivian, and Mila. He resides in Millis, where he enjoys family activities, antiques, theater, and road cycling. Bob, thank you so much for joining us this morning. And then we have Mike Ross. In 2021 marked Mike Ross's 28th year in the financial planning business. Mike joined Penn Mutual Career Agency in May 1993 as an agent just after his graduation from Boston University. In February 2004, the agency closed, and Mike and his producer group at Cornerstone Financial Group went independent. Mike works with a lot of long-term clients in planning their insurance, investments, and financial planning needs. Mike has published articles and given many talks to both the public and to other financial advisors on the topics of retirement, estate planning, and financial planning for women. Mike is a 16-year qualifying member of the MDRT, is a top of the table member, and has spoken at several MDRT annual meetings. He's also a former board member of NAFA Massachusetts and was the chair of the NAFA Massachusetts Young Advisor team for many years. When he's not helping his clients or our industry, Mike can be found investigating good restaurants, playing bad golf, and spending time with his wife, Beth, and their 3 children, Matthew, age 17, Allie, age 13, and Sam, age 10. So Mike, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
So to get kicked off, I always find it interesting to kind of get people's story about how they got into the business, because most people don't grow up, dreaming to be an insurance or financial services professional, and it's a lot of times people almost fall into the industry. So I'd like to get an idea from each one of you how you got into the business, where you are today, and what keeps you in the business. So Jen, you're right next to me in the Brady Bunch tree here. So do you want to get us started off?
Absolutely. Good morning, everyone. And to all those in chat, thank you so much for being here today. We're thrilled to have you. We appreciate you taking this valuable time. So my story, I often smile because it's not traditional, other than I answered an ad in the Boston Globe almost 40 years ago, looking for a sales management trainee. And it turned out to be a life insurance agent selling on the career side of the house, which is where I started with Gene Duran, who is my mentor. And many of you know my story about my mentor, but today is his birthday. And I often smile because we plan to be together today. And he is still very much part of my life. What keeps me in the business is my passion for making a difference. It's the impact that I have seen over a career of almost 40 years, where we know that we can touch lives. We can help people navigate at their most challenging times in their lives and put them on a course that makes them feel empowered to make decisions, to move on in moments of grief, and importantly, to continue to live a full and rewarding life. So, and that comes in so many different ways. My primary focus today is I'm an employee benefits specialist. We have an amazing team of superheroes on our team that work with clients in each and every day. And my role as a leader is really to help provide direction, guidance, support, empowerment, and confidence. Most importantly, confidence, because our mission is to really make that difference. So my career has traversed many different ways over almost 39 years, but it's still very much at the core of what we do each and every day, whether it's selling life insurance or employee benefits, it's touching the lives of clients. We are helping others. So that just gives you a little bit of background, very brief.
Great, thank you, Jen. Bob, do you want to give us your story on how you got into the business?
Sure. So I'm next on the Brady tree. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. It's a pleasure to be here today. And I entered the industry really out of necessity. I was just graduating from college, and I was getting married. I was going to begin things, and answered, just as Jen did, I answered an ad, and it was an insurance firm. Fortunately, it was John Hancock, and they were at the time introducing variable life to the equation. So I had to be licensed for Series 6 right away. And so the licensing and everything was done very quickly. And I learned quite a bit in the early days, but one of the things that I began to feel was a sense of being the client being the center of the whole equation. And that was one of the frustrations perhaps, and led me to move to a more independent model. Bay State Financial Services in the 1980s when I was there was very dynamic, and still is to my knowledge. But at the time, they gave me the opportunity to work with investment and attorneys, group insurance specialists, a lot of other industry greats that I could work with and develop mentorships with. I became independent in 1993. And that was at a time when it was really not the trend to do that. LPL Financial had 700 reps across their network in the country. And but I, again, was looking at the client as the focus. And that has carried on to this day. I would say that is the quality that has kept me in the business, is really a dedication to clients and their outcomes, not just in managing an asset, not just in providing a product, but in walking with them as they travel this earth. And that's something that builds over time. And the distractions that come along the way are just that, they're distractions. You really have to remain focused to that client because they count on you. And that's what keeps me in the industry and keeps me in this business. They count on me to help them, to navigate them, to take care of their children, their grandchildren, and even their great-grandchildren now. And that's something that I take very seriously. And it's a very noble profession. And it's one of the few professions, I think, that's left that allows us the independence to decide who we want to work with. And building a business, which we'll, I think, talk about, is really carving it in your own fashion, the way you want it to evolve and the way you want it to be in the future. And that's something that doesn't have a time frame. There's nothing that says you have to stop at a certain time. It again keeps me motivated, keeps me moving, and keeps me busier than ever. So thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Mike, do you want to share your story?
So, I too never wanted to, or thought, growing up, I'd love to sell life insurance. But I was in college and I thought I wanted to go to law school. And I got to a point in college where I realized I don't really want to go to law school. I just don't want a real job. And so at the time I was a marketing and a finance dual major. And so I started applying for jobs on-campus recruiting. And at the time in 1993, there were a lot of insurance companies that if you could fog a mirror, they would hire you and have you sell insurance to your family and friends. And if you made it, great. If you didn't, that's okay. And so I went to quite a few interviews where I ended up landing. I noticed my old GA is on the call here. I blew him off for our first interview. And then he happened to be at another one and I wasn't getting anywhere. So I begged if I could have the interview again. And he said he was gracious enough to say yes. And so I started, in the business in an agency. And I noticed one of my first sales managers is on here as well. So, thank you guys for training me well and putting me in the right direction. In 2004, the agency closed and I was with a group of five other people, and we went the independent track and ran our own office, or what we would call a producer group. And that's what it's changed a little since then, but that's what we've been doing. I work with a lot of pre-retirees, retirees. I do general financial planning. I try to create deep relationships with my clients so that I know that their grandkid was in a play, or that their other grandkid hit a home run in their Little League game last week. So that's the way I'd want to be treated if I were a client. So that's what I do for my clients.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. Sounds like you did a good job tapping into your contact database to send the invite out to some people. So
Tried my best.
yeah. So, just from listening to all three of you, your practices have evolved over time. The industry in general is changing at an ever increasing rate of speed. What's the most important thing to focus on to keep growing and thriving in your practice? If one of you wants to kick that off, that would be great. Otherwise, I could take from the Brady Bunch tree here.
I'm happy to go.
All right, go ahead, Mike.
So I think it is really the important thing to keep growing is activity. And you've heard that a million times from a million other people, but it really is true. And there's a difference between being busy and being active and doing the things that you need to do to help grow your business and and continue to grow. So I often tell other newer advisors, find out what you're good at, find out what you like to do, and concentrate on that. And see if you can get somebody else to do the other stuff that you don't like to do, like setting appointments or things like that. So for most people, it's being in front of clients or prospects. Sorry, my time's up. Light sensor, and it's going to happen again. So there's a statistic, and I know I don't have this correct, but it's something like the average financial advisor has something like 6 appointments a week, client-facing appointments. And if any of you know the real numbers, you can jump in. The average MDRT producer has maybe 10, and the average top of the table producer has 12 or 13. So really the key is being in front of people, talking to people, and trying to help as many people as you can.
Thanks, Mike. Bob or Jen?
I would offer a couple of additional comments here. On the same line of activity, I think you have to be interested, not just interesting, right? You have to be interested in your clients. You need to ask them questions. And one of my favorite questions is actually, I've taken it from Strategic Coach Program and Dan Sullivan, it's called the DOS question. Asking the clients what their dangers, what their opportunities are, what their strengths are, and where do they see their future. I mean, we start every prospect meeting that way. We start every client renewal meeting that way by asking questions to really learn and to hear what they have to say. So be interested. And I love Mike's comment. I mean, be busy, be active. I mean, going through COVID, it was extra work on us to stay connected to clients. You really had to reach out in very different forms of communication, whether it was text or email or sending a bottle of wine or sending Grub Eats or Grubhub Eats or whatever that is. But it was a time for us to really stop and figure out who's important in your world and letting clients know that they're important and have helped you with your successful career. They appreciate that. And that generates also many referrals. And piggybacking on Mike, I would say focus on your unique ability. Focus on what you do really well and allow others to do what you don't do well. Like, that's focus on your strengths and not on your weaknesses. Talk to the people that you really connect with. And what we have found is that when you have your lane, in our firm, we call it your lanes. If you have a lane, that you find others who have their lanes. And when you put those two together, that's when magic happens. So identifying the right people to do other things that you're not good at is going to help you shine in what you really do well. So find the right who's for doing things that you're not good at. Like, I am not great at Excel spreadsheets and analytic work, right? That's having 3 screens on your desk and moving them around. I get lost in the numbers and where all the numbers go. But I have amazing benefiting analysts, and between the two of us, we put the story together. But I don't have to struggle all day to put the numbers together. So that's an example of really focusing on what I do well and allowing somebody else to shine in what they do well and marrying them together.
Great, thanks, Jen. Bob, do you want to share some thoughts?
Sure, I'll just add to what Jen and Mike were talking about. And as you know, the client is the focus, but it's also important to keep in mind that you're building your business, and you have to align not only with people around you who help support you, but with the clients themselves. You need to build the business block by block. And at different times in your career, it's something that you feel like you're drinking out of a fire hose. You have to see as many people as possible. You have to just keep moving the numbers. And I understand that's important, but at a certain point, you need to decide who you want to work with. And certain people are not going to make the cut. Certain people are not going to be your best fit as a client, because these are long-term relationships. And do you want to be allied with people that you really don't enjoy working with? So that's something to keep in your mind. And what helps with that is, as Jen was saying, with the question and this fact finding, if you will, is just remember we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. And I still keep learning that every single day, that you ask a question and let them tell you their story. Let them tell you their hopes and dreams. If you pigeonhole them, if you are talking with them about everything you can do for them and how wonderful you are, you miss that. And so those questions are open-ended. I'll share one, and Mike's heard this, I think, my magic word. I'll share it with you because someone shared it with me. It's the word particular. Adam Sachs knows it out there as well. This one word has made a difference in my career. And that is that it's from a psychologist actually a psychiatrist actually, who told me this, that said, if you ask someone, do you have any questions? The natural reaction we all have is to say, no, I'm fine, I don't have any questions. If you put the word particular in, not particularly, but particular, and say, okay, we've covered this or that. Are there any particular questions or concerns you may have? There's something in our brains that triggers that to not be a normal set. The word particular opens that floodgate, and try it yourself, see if it works. For me, it's been wonderful as a way of having the client engage, having that client speak openly about things that are troubling and things that are needs that they have.
That's a great tip, Bob, because just changing the words, and I would offer, one of the things that we do is we use the words, would you be willing, when we ask for a meeting, would you be willing to spend 5 minutes? Would you be willing to forward this email to a prospective client? But I love that word particular. So thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. Yeah, I'll use that. Would you be willing? And I think that that's a part of also what we've all, Mike, Jen and I think, and Josh have all done is as we go along, we're not looking to have a sea change in our business. We're not looking to say, oh, here's the next gold ring. Here's the next thing that's going to change our business. But we're looking in prospecting in a different way, and that is finding diamonds, finding little things that can make a difference. And if it's a word, if it's a phrase, and if you can incorporate that in what you do, that's the real key. It's not to say, I have a whole new prospecting system to work with. Very early on, perhaps, but really refining it is what it's all about. So thanks, Jen.
Yeah, fine tuning for sure. And I remember you sharing that tip in the past, Bob. So I appreciate the refresher, because I don't know if I did a great job implementing it the last time around, but I'm going to give it a shot.
Keep trying, Josh. It's good.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So Jen, you had mentioned COVID, along the path of everyone's careers. I'm sure we've all encountered obstacles, sometimes, well, not sometimes, change is tough, and adapting to change, and, particularly now with change occurring on an increasing frequency in our business. What's the most disruptive change you've had to adapt to? And I'm not going to let you talk about COVID, because I feel like that's a cop out. Is there something other than what we've been dealing with over the last 18 months that you feel like you had to really adapt, and how did you do that? How did you get past that, and how did it improve your practice moving forward? Go ahead, Jen.
Sure. I think because we all went to a remote environment, so our team is 72 people strong, and we're located in New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and we have remote employees in Florida and Connecticut. And we immediately were able to go remote when the pandemic started. And we were very fortunate. We had a disaster recovery plan in place, but it was really designed for snowstorms or lost power, but it worked for COVID. So we immediately switched and everybody became remote. The biggest challenge and the biggest impact it's made for us is the hiring of new people, believe it or not. Because we were traditionally, most people came to one of our offices, we were in a geographic boundary within about an hour's drive. But now our last year, we have hired people in New Jersey, in Connecticut, in Florida, and Virginia. So we now have found that it has opened our world of opportunity for very talented people. We are not limited in the market of you can drive within an hour. So our whole process of onboarding new hires has changed. Our whole process of culture building and bringing the individuals into our firm has changed. And I think that for the better. And yes, I think that we have become more efficient, and we are a hybrid workforce now. So we have office people who come into the office a couple days a week, and those that work remote. But that was the biggest change for us, and adjusting to that and really embracing it, and recognizing that it is the workforce of the future.
Have you found, Jen, that COVID has led to not only, looking at employees, in a wider geographical area, but have you been able to branch out from the client perspective as well, in terms of, people that you're working with? It's a lot easier to get in touch with those accounts that might not be as close.
The answer is yes. But I think another thing COVID did for us is we really laser focused on the right client. We have an ideal prospect and client scorecard, people that really appreciate the work that we do. And we're not shy about what we deliver and who makes a great partner with us. So what we've found is that we no longer need to work with clients that don't appreciate us. So the COVID has allowed us to really pare down who our ideal client is. And that's what we stay focused on. So I'll give you an example. We no longer write microgroups. In Massachusetts, microgroups are under 10 employees, could be under 20 employees based on the composite of the group, but we refer them to somebody else because we were doing the work of a client who spends or pays us $100,000 for a client who pays us $1,000. And so we were able to say to ourselves, like, that doesn't make sense. And so we got leaner, meaner, and honestly, it energizes our team when we're working with the right client that appreciates us. So it just has allowed us to continue to grow. And we had actually a great year in COVID. I do feel that it definitely, the work remote, it really blends the work from home. The work-life integration is a little challenging because we're forcing our employees to take time off. People don't stop, right? I'll work now and make dinner, and then I'll come back and do some more work later. And I'll check my email before I go to bed. We're finding our team is actually working more than they were prior to COVID. So that has been a little bit of a challenge that we've addressed, and I see everybody shaking their head. I'm sure that we all find that that is a gray line that we cross all the time.
Yeah, very true. Bob or Mike, do you have any thoughts on a challenge that you've faced and how you got past it?
Well, certainly, as Jen mentioned, I mean, it opened the world up in a grand way. Under very terrible circumstances. But I think one of the things that it allowed was the aspect of seeing and incorporating client meetings in a more efficient way, if necessary. The regular reviews that we perform with clients, we were struggling with how do we schedule all of these things for in-person reviews, and clients didn't necessarily say it, but visiting my office, has its own time frame for them. They have to spend time to get here, time to leave, so on and so forth. So we hope to take that going forward and say, okay, we'll have an in-person meeting, but we'll also do a virtual call if we need to. We'll leave even a phone call, which is a scheduled thing. One of the other things that was helpful was understanding that every client had their own comfort level with technology. And this is not an age-based thing. I found it very interesting that some younger clients just preferred a phone call. They just were not comfortable with the Zoom technology or whatever you want to, go to meeting, whatever it is. And that was a little eye-opening. So efficiencies have been improved. And also, as Jen said, we manage our time, all of us on this call. That's what we do. It doesn't necessarily translate to our clients. They have more of a difficult situation. I'm fortunate in that the last 25 years, I've had an office building that's across the driveway from my home. It's an historic home, so it's a nice place to be. So it didn't change my commute at all when these things happened. We kept operating here. My assistant Christine and I just kept moving forward. That is not the case with our clients. They all come from different areas of some disruption. So respecting that, understanding where they're coming from is important, even going forward.
Thanks, Bob. Mike, I'm sure you have some thoughts on that, but Derek Reed wants to know where the best place for dim sum is in north of Boston.
There's a place called Suncom in Malden. They do takeout, and the takeout is good. It's not like congealed by the time you get home. So
I'll check it out.
thank him for that question. We're
Absolutely.
finally
Thank you,
getting to
Derek.
the important parts. So, well, your question was really not including COVID. What was a bigger disruption? And I think for me, it was, sort of being forced to go the independent route, which, in retrospect was the best thing that happened to me. But at the time, you didn't know that. And there's a lot that you have to figure out and learn. And there are times when you don't want to deal with, the new phone system that's coming in, or, renegotiating your lease or things like that, that kind of stinks being a business owner, because really what you want to do is be in front of people and help them. But I think that was probably the biggest challenge. And sort of your other question is, how do you keep up with the challenges that keep coming and things like that? And for me, it's just talking to people. I try to surround myself with smart people. In this group, I'm in, active in MDRT and with NAIFA. I'm in a producer group. I'm in a study group. I'm in a book club with other financial advisors. So I think you surround yourself with good people and smart people, and you've got people to bounce ideas off of that can help you. And never know about the COVID story. We were set up as well. Like Jen said, we thought there might be a week-long snowstorm sometime. Nobody thought we'd have to do this for as long as you can. And I started right out of college. I never was in between a job. I never worked from home, but it worked, and we made it work.
Yeah. And getting back to your point about surrounding yourself with people that you respect and are doing well in the business. Also, never being afraid to ask for help. Because if you're in this business, you like helping people, not just clients, but other people in the business. At least that's been my experience. So appreciate your thoughts on that, Mike. So let's talk a little bit about finding success in the business. Sometimes I'm sure we've all been guilty at some point of, looking at other people and the success that they've obtained, and, wishing you could be where they are. How have you found success in the business? How long did it take you to find success? Any thoughts around, finding your own success rather than trying to, mirror somebody else's success? Bob, I don't think you've started a question yet. Do you want to kick that one off?
Sure, I will. I think success, of course, is perception. First of all, you have to appear successful to everyone that you meet with as a client. They want to know that you're in this for the long term. You have to convey that success. And in my early years, it was, we had a person at Bay State Financial who answered phones, but she made sure my shoes were shined every day when I came in there. It's these first impressions. You have to be successful even when you feel you're not. But I think that what happens in your own mind about success is when it gets down to some of the things we do in this industry that are very unique, and that is helping people through their difficult times. And if you're in a position where you're working with a widow or widower or business owner who's going through things, when you carry them through that and you're the one to make it happen and you're the one to bring it to a successful as possible conclusion, that is a label of success because you've accomplished your goal. And it's not a financial or a monetary, but it's knowing that you did what you set out to do. You helped the client, you got them to where they needed to go. That for me is where you feel that sense of success. And that may occur very early on. One thing I remember which helped define my career is, I don't think they do this anymore, unfortunately, but I went to my office manager and asked if I could deliver any orphan death claims that came in. And again, I think this is all handled directly from the insurance companies, but it was fundamental because he liked me and he brought me a person and said, you know, this person has a death claim, here's the check, go out and deliver it. And the check was for $712. That was the death claim. And I walked into a home with a family with children and delivered a check for $712. And at that moment when I left, I said, I will never, this is not on my watch. I didn't write this insurance, of course, but I'm not delivering a $712 insurance claim anymore. There's a responsibility here. And even then, they were extremely thankful for this check because that was going to allow them to live another day, if you will. So when those things happen, success comes into you as a calling, as something that you need to do to keep going from day to day.
Thanks, Bob. Mike or Jen?
I'm happy to go. So it took a while. I was not an overnight success. I would not have been on the 4 under 40, for maybe in my late 30s, I might have been. I was on the get rich slow scheme. And I think part of it was, not believing in myself enough and having self-doubt and, and going through the ups and downs of what it meant to be an insurance advisor, in the early 90s when we were cold calling and you're getting a lot of rejection. But I got to a point where I sort of viewed myself as this is not a job or a career, but a profession. And I'm the owner of it. I don't work for the agency. I work for me. And somebody described this one day once to me that your biggest client is the business. Okay, so you're doing things not to hurt your real clients, but to make the business grow, because that's what you want. And the longer you're around, the more people you can help and the more people who rely on you, and you know more than all your clients do about financial planning or insurance or group insurance or things like that. So, it took a while, but then I think once you get your head screwed on the right way, or at least for me, it takes off, and then you feel more successful. And as Bob said, it's not necessarily a monetary thing. It's, how many people say, wow, thank you for doing that. I don't think my kid would have afforded college had you not been a pain in the ass and made me start saving money or stuff like that. Sorry, but they said I could swear on this.
Politely persistent, right, Mike?
Yes.
Yeah. Jen, do you have some thoughts to add?
Success for me is really what my impact is on others. And part of it is a legacy. And I think legacy is really a situation that develops due to past experiences and decisions that are made. And that is a result of what we've done in the past and how we've impacted the clients. So I personally live by the model of meet, exceed, wow. And wherever possible, we are absolutely going to meet clients' experiences, clients' expectations, create clear deliverables, but we're always looking for what we can do to create the wow factor. And that for me allows for a very positive experience. Like, what could we do to just make it a little better? And how can I make their lives just a little better? So providing that confidence is really how I feel successful, is that I'm providing confidence in others.
Thanks, Jen. So we've got a little bit more than 10 minutes left. I want to get to a couple of quick things around client development, because that's really the lifeblood of our business. Where do you get most of your clients these days, and how has that changed? And how have you developed those sources for your clients? Mike, do you want to kick that one off?
Yeah. So, most of my clients today are referrals or just new business from existing clients that have left a job or, needed more insurance or things like that. So, again, it's pretty much all referrals. I mean, I have 28 years of a book that has helped. About 5 years ago, 6 years ago, an advisor came to me asking would I be interested in buying her business as she was retiring. And so I took that on as well. And that was sort of a brand new list of people to start talking to and seeing that, how we can develop them as well. But the process for me now is I'm not so focused on making a sale. I just want to talk to people. I want to talk to clients and things like that. And what I've done over the years is, built up an income that's based on recurring revenue. So even if I make no new life insurance or disability or anything sales this year, things are fine because, from the beginning, one of my mentors had suggested make everybody a client. So I have lots of people who we started saving $50 a month into a mutual fund. And, now it's a few $1,000s a month into a mutual fund or whatever they're doing. Or don't be afraid of term insurance because it gives you the opportunity to go back to somebody in a year or two and talk about converting some of it. So what I found in our processes is just build up assets under management, and it will pay off because, they'll continue to grow and be good to your clients so you don't lose them.
Better than chasing the rabbit and starting from zero every year, right?
Correct.
Bob or Jen, do you want to share your thoughts?
I can build on that. Certainly that the process becomes consultative, as Mike said, instead of a direction you're going in to get to some sale of something. The needs are uncovered just through that consulting, just through talking with people. And you can begin to, the thing that happens over time with our wisdoms, I guess, is that we can identify the needs as they're being laid out in front of us. I don't use a checklist for a fact finder. That should, and I would encourage everyone to get away from some sort of checklist that has this approach of here's my question, what's your answer? Have that committed to memory. Just know the flow is going to change. Ask those open-ended questions. It will lead to all sorts of different directions, which in turn lead to opportunities to work with other people that your clients know. The idea that has happened over the last many years that that I was not able to work with is, of course, technology, but one of them is LinkedIn. If you are meeting with someone who is new to you, and you can look on LinkedIn, look at some information about that person, try to develop some sort of common ground, perhaps, things that they have in common with you, anything like that that will help to build that bond. And also, as I said earlier, you are building a business. And as Mike had said, you build assets under management. That does not require you to say, I have to add every year. I have to, you work with your clients and things develop right there in front of you. You pick your clients because that is your business and you want to develop a business. And as I said, it's unique to our industry. The storefront has to pretty much accept whoever comes in the front door. We are not in that area. We can say no. We can say the fit is not right. And another question that's come up over the years is minimums. And some people like to parade minimums and say, my minimum investment, my minimum, so on. Mine is a rather corny response, but it's effective. And that is, the minimum is I have to like you. And if that doesn't meet my minimum, then, so the fact that we're talking to each other right now is a pretty good sign that we may be able to develop a relationship. I don't want to get caught up in, well, this doesn't meet my quota, my minimum, whatever it may be. We all know those situations where small things have led to giant consequences in our industries, in our practices. So that's some of the client issues, I guess.
Thanks, Bob. Jen, would you like to add your thoughts? Oh, I think we lost Jen. Can you guys still hear me? Oh, Jen, you're back. Yep, you're back.
I don't know if you were frozen or I was frozen. But I'll just tag team both Mike and Bob and just say, from a client development perspective, we're constantly seeking working with the right clients. We really recognize that people move around a lot. So those referrals are critically important. So we really focus on centers of influence and people on the move. A client who has been with us and has moved to another firm, they are connected to new people all the time. So we do everything from Google alerts, LinkedIn profiling. We have a software called MyEdge that really profiles companies and people. So we're constantly looking and developing relationships, making them deep and wide. And that's what generates the referrals, because I had an email this morning from a person who was a client at one school, just moved to another school, and she said, I'm settled. How do we start working together? That's going to be a new client for us because she moved to a school we don't have. And we have a particular focus on independent schools. So that's what we're constantly doing. Relationships trump everything, right? So keeping those relationships and working and fostering them is critically important. I start my day every morning, just an FYI. At the top of my Outlook calendar are all key birthdays. And I literally pick up the phone and I do it between 7:30 and 8, and I call all of those birthdays. I still do that. And that really does have an impact, because it was a reason to reach out on our, and all it is say happy birthday. And there are little touch points, but that I think make a big difference.
Yeah, the little things go a long way, for sure.
They do.
Yeah, thanks, Jen.
Can I add something to that, Josh?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead,
When I
Bob.
was speaking, I was thinking of this, is that one of the things that we all know is our clients' pets are often more important than their children, and so it's important to know about their pets, their names, relationships they have with them. And they even make sympathy cards for pets. And if you want to be unique, pets pass away much more frequently than humans. And if you're the one to send a sympathy card, if you know that's important for the client, that will tie you that much closer to that relationship.
That's a great point, Bob. Thank you. So we've got a few minutes left. Obviously, NAFA is 100% volunteer organization. You've all been involved at the board level with NAFA, as well as, you know, a variety of other community organizations, industry organizations, that sort of thing. So I want to ask how important volunteerism is, not only in your personal life, but also professionally, and how has that helped you grow? Mike, you posed the question, so I guess I'll have you kick that one off.
I'm happy to do it. The one thing I've learned with any sort of volunteer opportunity is the more you give, the more you get. And so, again, I've learned from, especially industry volunteering, I've learned great ideas from other advisors who do things differently that I've incorporated that have made me a better advisor, a better husband, a better father, a better boss, you know. So I have, I would just say it will help your career more than you can imagine right now to be involved. You know, NAFA is a great place to start, and, reach out to, it's not a commercial for you guys, but reach out to NAFA and see what committees they could use help with. My original general agent told me to take my business card, go up to the president of BLUA at the time, give it to him and say, I'll sit on any committee you need. Here's
Morning. Awesome, Mike. Thank you. Jen, do you want to give
I
your
would
thoughts?
just say you're always learning when you volunteer, and when you try something new, you're always learning, and it creates another connection. And I think it makes you a better person. I would say some of the greatest role models and mentors in my career have come from my volunteer work within the industry. True friends that I've developed because I said yes when they asked me to, or to read a foundation grant or whatever it is. I said yes in the beginning, and I still say yes. But I think that there's a lot of power in saying yes.
And we certainly appreciate all of you saying yes to participating this morning. And I 100% agree with you, Jen. All my best friends in the business are all people that I've met through NAFA. So, Bob, do you want to share your thoughts?
Yes, I just echoing what Mike and Jen have said. It's never a waste of your time. And unfortunately, too many people try to equate volunteering with what am I going to get out of this? And if you come at it with that attitude, it won't work. You have to just willingly be able to open your timetable to allow for the needs of that organization. And in the years that I've done it, it has never resulted in anything negative. As Mike said, it makes you a better person, a better family member, a better advisor to your clients. You're always learning, you're always picking up new things, and it's so enriching to do it. And you also discover perhaps what you don't want to do. You see certain situations and you say, okay, how do I avoid that? How do I stay away from that aspect of the industry or that aspect of things? But from a positive framework, I look at it positively and say it's a great thing to do. So I would encourage everyone to. It's never too early to start that process.
Great, thanks, Bob. And to wrap things up, does anybody have any final thoughts that they'd like to share?
Well, I said at the outset before it became public here that, and Mike took offense at this, but Jen and I get it. I mean, this is kind of the march of the dinosaurs, and I just hope that that in a few years when we have the half century thing, we'll be on this panel again. So that's what I'm looking forward to. But no, it's certainly it's an opportunity to give something back, and if you can pick up just a few things of things we've said today, that would be very gratifying, I know, for all of us.
Thanks, Bob.
My last parting words were find mentors in this business, right? you have 4 mentors right here on this screen, and reach out because they're all willing to share. They're all willing to be helpful to you. Buy them a cup of coffee and get to meet them. So, and thank you for all those that invested your time to be here today. That's showing that.
Yeah, while Jen is frozen, I'd echo what she said. Find a mentor. People who are successful are generally willing to help. So reach out to people.
Great. Thank you all so much for joining us this morning. Thank you for your years of service in the industry. I'm sure between the 3 of you, you've impacted the lives of thousands of people. And it's a great business to be in. And hearing your experiences, will hopefully aid in the continued success of advisors who, can hopefully stand on the shoulders of those who came before us. So thank you again for sharing your thoughts this morning. Greatly appreciated. As I said, for anybody that wants to share the event with colleagues, we'll send out a recording, or if you want to just listen, I'm sure there's a ton of value in the last hour we spent. I feel like we could spend a couple hours doing this sort of thing. So thank you again. Great to see you all this morning. And if anyone has questions, comments, please reach out. More than happy to talk a little bit more about NAFA. So thanks a lot, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Josh.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
See you, Bob. You're muted still.
Great working with you on this, Mike.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
Doing great work there, I see.
I think
Good.
we're very similar, which I probably knew, but
Yeah.
I think we share a similar mindset. And
Well,
approach.
that independent model, as you
Yeah.
pointed out, you build it. And who would have thought, Mike, when you or I started this, who would have thought that you'd have a value you could assign to your practice? That was,
Yeah,
that was
we're still chatting publicly.
oh, you are. Okay.
All
Talk
right.
to you soon. Take
All
care.
right.